Mr. Lee, what city are you in? Wuxi. What is the price of housing in Wuxi? The average price in Wuxi? Has it gone down? 20% to start with. 20% down. Mr. Wang, what city are you in? Suzhou. Has the price of housing in Suzhou dropped? 20%. It's also down 20%. Mr. Zhang, how is Dongguan? Have housing prices in Dongguan fallen? It's down 40,000, has dropped to 25,000. How much? The second-hand homes in our neighborhood dropped from 40,000 to 25,000. 40,000 down to 25,000. Mr. Xu, which city are you in? Nanchang, Jiangxi Province, Nanchang. How is the price of housing in Nanchang, Jiangxi Province? 20% down. It's also down 20%. Mr. Yu, Chongqing. Have housing prices in Chongqing dropped? It's gone down, it's gone down. How much? More than 20%. More than 20%, alas. Mr. Yang, which city are you in? Hefei. Almost 30% down. Has the price in Hefei fallen? Almost 30%. Wow, that's pretty dramatic. Mr. Tsai? We are basically 25% or so over there in Nanjing. A 25% drop in price. Ms. Su?
Guangzhou,
Have Guangzhou's real estate prices dropped yet?
10% also.
About 10%. Mr. Ding? I'm from Nantong. It's almost 25 to 30% down. The entire country is declining. This video shows an internal meeting of real estate agents from all over China. They talked about the plummeting prices in their cities, ranging from 20 to 30%. It's a sign of a rapidly declining economy in China. A World Bank economic briefing on China released in June 2022 concluded that by the end of 2021, China's upstream and downstream real estate sectors accounted for about 30% of China's GDP. Many investors have high expectations for China's economic recovery in the post-epidemic era. They even hope that China's recovery will boost the global economy. U.S. investors, for example, are concerned about the state of the Chinese economy because China is a major market for many U.S. companies and a key growth driver for the most sought-after industries. What many people don't understand is that with the lifting of the COVID-19 restrictions, the Red Nation's economy has been slow to pick up, with no hope in sight. Why is this? Let's explore this in this video. The year 2023 is a particularly difficult year to work in Shanghai. People used to think that it would be easy to work in Shanghai. Now, let's see how many stores have closed down on the street. For example, we see a tobacco shop here that closed down and a restaurant here that closed down. The bakery next to it, it's closed. Even the popular noodle shop is out of business. And let's see, there are a few restaurants and convenience stores here, an advertising company and a gym further away. If we look in another direction, there aren't many stores open. In the past, people could make some money working and running a business in Shanghai, but now they lose money, and that's what we see now. Liao Yuan-chun, president of the Shanghai University of Finance and Economics, presented a report on China's macroeconomic analysis and forecast for mid-2023 at the China Macroeconomic Forum in June 2023. He warned that the problem of youth unemployment in China could last for 10 years with increasing intensity in the short term. If not handled correctly, it would lead to other social problems outside the economic sphere or even become a trigger for political turmoil. According to government figures, the youth unemployment rate in China soared to 20.8% in May, and the unemployment rate of college graduates is significantly higher than that of the general youths, resulting in the emergence of new terms and phenomena such as involution, lying flat, runology, and new minerals in society. This year, the number of college graduates has exceeded 11 million, and the problem of youth unemployment will become even more aggravated in the third quarter of 2023. The unemployment rate, especially that of young people, may lead to permanent unemployment if they are unable to find a job within about 6 months or a year, as there will be subsequent waves of people looking for jobs. So, the unemployment issue has always been a very important key factor to the ability of a country to stabilize its political and economic scene. Mr. Liu Yuan Chun said in his report that the problem of youth unemployment in China is not just cyclical, but systematic and propensity-oriented. The solution to youth unemployment relies mainly on the creation of new jobs, which relies on the creation of new market players, and to create new market players, it's necessary to rely on productive investment, especially investment in the private sector. However, a recent survey of purchasing managers in China's manufacturing sector showed that small businesses contracted for the second month in a row, with the Purchasing Managers Index now standing at 47.9, a figure below 50, indicating that business activity is slowing down and contracting. The labor-intensive industries of the past are slowly leaving China, moving to Southeast Asia, India, Vietnam, and so on.
越南制造，你看，印度尼西亚制造，又是越南制造，孟加拉制造，缅甸制造，又一个越南制造。
Coupled with the fact that the global market is being localized, de-risked, and de-syndicalized, which means decoupling from China, not only are the low and middle-end industries decoupled, but also the high-end ones. Under such circumstances, insufficient investment in China in the future is expected, while the current market is shrinking. Hence, this president of a financial and economics university said in the report that the pain and difficulty of China's economic recovery is centered on the 20%. First, the youth unemployment rate exceeded 20%. Second, the total profit of industrial enterprises decreased by 20% annually. Third, the local land transfer revenue decreased by 20% annually. Fourth, the area of new real estate construction decreased by 20% annually. Fifth, the gap in the Consumer Confidence Index reached as high as 20%. The report suggests that the pressures in the relevant areas have exceeded their capacity for self-repair. In other words, there is no way to clean up the mess it has turned into. The present situation is worse than it was before the COVID-19 pandemic, when former Premier of China Li Keqiang said that 600 million people in China were earning only RMB 1,000 yuan, that is US $139 a month. Industrial production is in bad shape, industrial profits aren't good, and real estate isn't good. The 20% decline is across the board, presenting a very stressful situation for the Chinese government. China's economy is at a point where it really can't go on without making changes, but under the regime of the CCP, it's going to be a deadlock of entrapment. Perhaps, in the eyes of the CCP, the fact that the country had a booming economy for more than 3 decades is strong evidence of the legitimacy of the Red Party. But, as a widely circulated saying on the Chinese web puts it, when the tide goes out, only then will you know who is swimming naked. In China's post-epidemic era, the world is suddenly seeing the huge bombshell that the CCP has planted in China's economy over the past 3 decades. Behind China's economic woes are factors that the CCP can't change, no matter what policy it implements. One is the sharp decline in population and the disappearance of the demographic dividend. The second is the mismatch between the training of talents and the market demand. And the third is the low confidence in consumption and investment. First, the Chinese government admits that its population had negative growth in 2022 for the first time in 60 years. We want to point out that the figures quoted in this video are all from the Chinese government, and they are usually retouched and spruced up by the CCP, which means the real situation ought to be much worse. Despite the overall implementation of a 2-child policy in 2013 and the abolition of the 1-child policy in 2015, China has failed to improve its dropping birth rate. Newborns have declined by more than 60% from 1988 to 9.56 million in 2022, a trend that has become unstoppable. Data from the Ministry of Civil Affairs of China shows that the number of marriages in 2022 was 6,833,000 pairs, while the number of marriages in 2021 was 7,643,000 pairs. The number of marriages in China has been declining for 9 consecutive years since 2013. Chinese people refusing to get married and have children is becoming a serious problem that the CCP must face in the future. It's a difficult problem that the government can't solve. The decline in the number of marriages has led to a sudden drop in the number of births, and the drop in the birth number has led to a drop in the number of people of working age. China's official statistics show that China's working age population between the ages of 16 and 59 peaked at 940 million in 2011 and has been declining ever since. By 2022, China's working age population was 875 million, a drop of more than 65 million in 10 years. And this figure will continue to decline at an accelerated pace because the current working age population was born from 1961 to 2004, and the birth rate in this interval and thereafter drops at a faster rate. This means that China's working population has reached a point of no return since declining from 2011 onwards. It will continue to decline for at least another 20 years. Even if China's childbearing population decides, at the behest of the Communist Party, to have more children, 3, 4, or even 7 or 8 per couple, the effects will not be felt until 20 to 30 years from now. During these 20 to 30 years, no matter what measures the Chinese government might take, nothing can be done to solve the problem of the rapid decline of China's population, especially the working age population. This is what's often referred to as the disappearance of China's demographic dividend. In the long run, this serves as the main reason for the economic slowdown. Fewer people in the labor force means an increase in labor costs and a decrease in total production. It'll also reduce the spending power, thus leading to the market shrink and a lack of domestic demand in the overall economy. Secondly, there is a mismatch between the training of talents and market demand. The cardboard sign of this female student reads, "Begging for food, she is an undergraduate at Wuhan University, one of the top 39 best universities in China, studying philosophy, including Marxism." An article in the Wall Street Journal on May 24th, titled, "The generation of college-educated young people is struggling to find work in China's economy," explains the complex reasons why the unemployment rate for 16 to 24-year-olds has reached 20% in China. The key point is that it's not because there aren't enough jobs in China. Rather, it's because there is a significant gap between the available jobs and the education and skills of those entering the workforce. The article highlights the fact that China's manufacturing sector is experiencing a severe labor shortage. 80% of China's manufacturing enterprises report that they have a 10% to 30% labor shortfall, and China's Ministry of Education predicts that by 2025, China's manufacturing sector will have a labor shortfall of 30 million. There is a similar shortage of talent in the high-tech sector. A report by the Semiconductor Division shows that there are 200,000 vacancies this year for which no recruits can be found. The number of vacancies in the field of artificial intelligence is even bigger, amounting to about 5 million. Even though China has more graduates in STEM fields than any other country, almost twice as many as the US, it isn't producing truly useful talent. China's higher education has expanded tenfold in 20 years, but there is a huge demand not for advanced degrees, but for vocational technicians to operate complex equipment or run automated systems. That's why 95% of vocational school students find jobs right after graduation, contrary to those with the best education. Even some high-tech companies have hired a small percentage of graduates with the right technical skills. They still complain that most of the applicants lack the specific skills or hands-on experience required by the industry. It turns out that Chinese diplomas don't necessarily translate into the skills sought by the high-tech sector or smart manufacturing companies. The standardized test-ready skills and identical resumes of the Chinese education system can hardly meet the market economy's demand for real-world experience, flexible thinking, and personal passion. But reforming China's education system isn't a simple issue. It involves what kind of people the CCP wants to cultivate. Independent thinking and innovative people aren't what the CCP wants because they aren't good for maintaining the CCP's rule. Third, people's confidence in consumption and investment is low. Xi Jinping's sharp turn to the left politically, his erratic behavior during the 3 years of the epidemic, his war wolf diplomacy, and escalating threats to the Taiwan Strait have caused the US and its allies to start a technology embargo against China. It has completely shattered the confidence of private entrepreneurs, the common people, and most foreign investors in the future of China's economy. Even the average Chinese citizen who may not know too much about economics and finance can see the crisis just from observing their own lives.
大家都在等着上面放大招。
We are all waiting for the authorities to make big moves to stimulate the economy, stimulate the real estate market, and stimulate consumption. Come on, look at me. Do you think I'm the one who needs stimulation? I buy financial products, mutual funds and stocks, and they have fallen to the point beyond recognition. Isn't that stimulating enough? Some people still ask, what will happen to the real estate market? Will housing prices fall? Will there be a bailout from the government? Will the purchase limit be lifted? Let's put these aside for a moment. Let's look back at a day in 2022. Before that, it was a full-blown anti-epidemic effort. All you could think about every day was which nucleic acid testing site had fewer people, and you could line up a little bit quicker. You were anxious every day, thinking about when there would be an end to being jabbed in the throat. Then, suddenly, pretty much overnight, all restrictions were lifted. Were there any signs that the policy was about to change? Nope. Yesterday it was a deadly virus, but today it's only a common cold. I'm not trying to deny anything, but I'm trying to remember the lessons of the past. Oftentimes, what you think is a big deal can turn out to be nothing in the next moment. Will real estate be like this? On a certain day, suddenly, all the limits on buying homes no longer exist. How much should the home price be, or what percentage should the down payment be? You can just negotiate with the developer. Overnight, it might turn into a market economy completely, and everything will be left to the market to regulate. Don't you believe those so-called experts and their nonsense? They say the real estate industry is too big to fail. It's a pillar industry. If it fails, it would cause a systemic financial crisis, etc. Don't believe a word of such nonsense. As soon as the wind changes from the top, it is just like the epidemic, and the sky will change in an instant. These shameless experts have now begun to say that all countries from the US to Japan have taken the initiative to pop their real estate bubbles. Only when the real estate bubble bursts can we expect the country to be reborn. And only when we fully transform into the high-tech field and channel more real estate capital into the real economy can we be in a leading position in the world. By that point, no one cares if you bought your property at a high price. If you fail to make the mortgage payments, you will be sued, and the court will seize your property in foreclosure. A whole set of actions will be waiting for you, and then you will find that there is no such thing as a financial crisis. The housing price will collapse, and you can't sell your home and can't make the mortgage payments. Everything just happens, and it'll be your responsibility. You are all alone. It's all on you, yourself. The stability of China's policies has become the #1 challenge for business, and no one trusts the Chinese government these days. The CCP claims to uphold reform and opening up and welcoming foreign investment, but at the same time, it's intensively cracking down on foreign enterprises in China, raiding foreign companies, and even arresting their employees. Its foreign relations law and the so-called anti-espionage law will both be activated on July 1st, 2023 as well. Because of the ambiguity of these two laws, once they are enacted, the Chinese police can just charge anyone they want with espionage and arrest him or her, so who would dare to come to China? Not to mention, if they can make any money, they would probably find ensuring their own personal safety is going to be difficult. Now the strategy of many foreign companies is to stay in China to make a profit if they can, given their current assets in China. However, they have basically stopped building new factories or expanding their investments. Foreign companies have no confidence in the policies of the CCP, and neither do the Chinese people. Private companies no longer dare to invest. One, they have no orders, and the other is the fear that the government's policies are unstable.
广州这边又一个工厂宣布倒闭。
Another factory here in Guangzhou has announced that it is closing. It can't hold on any longer because of the decreasing number of foreign trade orders. When a factory closes, hundreds or thousands of people lose their jobs. Guangzhou is no longer what it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Guangzhou was the first choice for migrant workers, but now it is a place where people leave with their luggage. When a factory closes down, only the formal employees get the compensation, while the temporary and contract workers are just told to leave. Most of the factories here in Guangzhou use temporary and contract workers. 10 years ago, I worked in that factory. It was 12 hours a shift. with 2 shifts daily. I could only sit on a stool for a break when I was eating. When I went to work, I wore a full bodysuit with only 2 eyes visible. Anyone who has worked on an assembly line knows that there is no chance for you to catch your breath, but the wages were extremely low. Now, workers born in the 1970s and 1980s were basically phased out. A few years ago, it was people choosing factories, but now it's factories choosing people.
Overall, China's economy can be summed up by these factors. 1. The loss of the population base needed for developing economies of scale. 2. The shrinking of the market. 3. The weakening of productivity. 4. The mismatch between talent cultivation and market demand. 5. The labor shortage. And 6. Paradoxically, the unemployment crisis. Both domestic and foreign enterprises have lost confidence in the stability of the CCP's policies and thus refrain from making investments and spending. They also suffer from the embargo on Western high technology and are unable to upgrade their industries. The simultaneous happenings of these events have created a fatal combination that has blocked virtually all paths for China's economy to recover in the short to medium term. The CCP can't solve this by adjusting certain policies. It's an inevitable outcome of the accumulation of past problems over a long period. It's the CCP's innate genes that have led to the now inevitable and doomed results. This is the fate of China's economy.